All right, so for those of you who have ever had the privilege of enjoying your Second Amendment rights, let's say that you went shooting with your grandpa one time, maybe a friend of yours took you to an indoor range, maybe some of you in this room might actually want to own a firearm for protection or recreation use. Well, Proposition 63 is going to have a direct impact on that. Now, when it comes to me and my experience, I actually have a lot of experience when it comes to the Second Amendment. I've been shooting consistently since I was 14 years old. When I was 21 to 23, I actually competed in long-range competitions. So when it comes to experiencing the laws that affect people like that, I have a lot of experience in this field. Today I'm going to be giving a speech about Prop 63 and the three things that I feel are most important about this. The first thing we're going to discuss is the ammunition background check. The second thing I'm going to discuss is the ban on high-capacity magazines. And the third thing I'm going to discuss is the court regulation and removal of firearms. So, when it comes to the ammunition background check, according to an article that was published in January of this year, they state that background checks do work. Okay, background checks do work, however, they are not perfect. Now, background checks, they do a good job of keeping firearms and weapons out of the hands of the wrong people. However, there's still little loopholes here and there. Well, the state of California wants to do the exact same thing when it comes to ammunition. To this day, you don't just walk into a gun store and then walk out that same day with a firearm. You have to go under a 10-day waiting period. That's where the gun store takes your information, your social security number, all your info, and they submit it to the FBI. The FBI then does a background check on you. When you come up clean, you show up 10 days later and you can take it home with you. Well, the Department of Justice wants to do a very similar thing where you purchase a little card, and that's the actual background check. That card gives you permission to then go into gun stores and walk out with whatever ammo you want. In theory, this sounds like a good idea because it creates a database on who is purchasing what. However, as nice as it may sound, and although it is a good idea, there are a few things that it will not cover. For example, those who manufacture their own ammunition in their garage, it's a cost-effective type of thing that hunters do. There's no way to really record or track that type of action. Another thing is Proposition 63 will make it illegal for California citizens to travel across state lines like Arizona or Nevada and then come back over the border with ammo. That would be illegal in 2018. However, sure, it's illegal, but what's going to stop somebody from actually doing it? Is the California State Patrol going to stop every car that's coming over state lines? You know, so that's just one example where it's a good idea. However, there are some loopholes. The second thing we're going to discuss is the actual ban on high-capacity magazines. Now, what is a high-capacity magazine? Well, a high-capacity magazine is any type of magazine that can hold over 10 rounds. As of January 1st, 2017, you will not be allowed to actually have these things. Okay, to be caught with a high-capacity magazine will be a series of infractions. The first time you were charged with like a $100 fine, you might serve a day in jail. The second and third time, then it's going to be heavier consequences, heavier fines. You're going to be serving a longer time period in jail. What this does is remove your right to ownership. It doesn't matter how long you've had this for. Maybe your dad had it since 1985 or 1995, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't matter. You will not be allowed to have it. You must then either turn it over to the police or you must destroy them themselves. Once again, in theory, it sounds like a good idea. We don't want thugs and gangsters running around with drum magazines and 30-round clips everywhere. Well, once again, there are some things that it will not cover. For example, there are accessories that are easily obtainable, where you can attach 3 10-round mags into one block. So, sure, you get rid of 30-round mags, but there's other things that the law will not check that might keep some people safe. The third thing we're going to discuss today is the actual court removal of firearms. Now, this one is kind of tied into a law that has already been passed. It's already been known that if you commit a felony, that you are not allowed to purchase firearms after you have committed a crime. The court in this case will ensure that once you are actually convicted of a felony, during that court processing, the bailiff or the parole officers, that's the correct word, parole officers, it will be their responsibility to ensure that you actually do not own any firearms while you are being convicted of a felon. Now, this is a good idea because it does make sure that whoever is convicted felon does not own or possess weapons like that. It would also double check to make sure that they are removed. You must then relinquish if you are of your firearms if you are convicted of a felony. The second thing that this will also do is if you have found to have a serious mental illness, if you have been convicted to be suicidal, or maybe that you might commit mass shooting or something like that. If you're just not right in the head and the courts say, okay, you are too unstable to own a firearm, you will then have to relinquish your firearms to the state or police or whoever to pretty much remove your ownership of them. The third thing is domestic violence. If somebody hits their partner and the police come and arrest that individual, if the individual is found to have a history of violence, the courts will say, okay, you are too violent to own a firearm. You may commit murder or may commit suicide of your own, so therefore you must, again, relinquish your firearms. So to recap on this, today I've discussed Proposition 63 and the three things that I feel are most important about this proposition, which was ammunition background check, the ban on high-capacity magazines, and the court removal of firearms. Thank you.